Here is everything you need to know about the new Commander Brackets system beta. Now I want to preface this and remind you all that Commander is a casual format and you can play it however you want with your playgroup. If you already have an established set of house rules with your friends, you're more than welcome to keep doing that and ignore this video completely. Of course, you're more than welcome to take some ideas from this system and try them out for yourself. So what is the bracket system even aiming to do? Put simply, it's giving players a better way to define the power levels of their decks and have a better time finding the types of Commander games they want to play with people who they might not have played with before. The easiest example of this in action today is CEDH. If you join a pod playing CEDH, you know exactly what you're walking into and what to expect from the game. There's no Rule Zero conversation required. You're about to see the best cards, combos, and the most optimized decks. You understand that winning is the first priority for the majority of CEDH players. It's extremely unlikely you're going to find a barefoot themed deck here, so now imagine this, but for all sorts of power levels of decks. No longer will everyone's deck just be a 7. This bracket system is by no means perfect, and no doubt some players will either lie about the contents of their deck or look to build decks that are on the top end of one bracket and are a literal bee's kneecap away from falling into the next bracket to try and gain an edge on everybody. But for the vast majority of players, and the majority of the time, it will help you get into the games you want to play faster. Finally, don't forget that this is a beta. This is something that has been in discussions for months, but we're just 18 people on the CFP out of millions of people that play Commander around the world. There's no doubt going to be some changes to the system in the future, and that's why we want you to start trying out this system and letting us know your feedback, good or bad. If you want to pass on any feedback, you can leave your comments on this video down below. You can email me, or you can DM me on Blue Sky or Twitter. Before we get into the brackets, I think it's really important to cover some definitions of the terms I'll be using to make sure we're all on the same page. To start, we have the brackets. These are effectively the tiers that Commander decks will fall into based on their playstyle or certain cards that are within the deck. Next, we have the banned list. This is a list of cards that are completely banned from play in Commander. As of this beta, we're using the current ban list and no changes have been made to it. More on that later. Next, there's Mass Land Denial. These are cards that regularly destroy, exile, bounce, perpetually keep tapped, or change what mana is produced by 4 or more lands per player without replacing them. Examples of this are Armageddon, Sunder, Winter Orb, and Blood Moon. Basically, any card or common game plan that messes with several people's lands or the mana they produce. And lastly, there's the Game Changer list. It's been here the whole time and is new to the beta. The Game Changers list is a list of cards that the CFP have agreed are too powerful for casual, social games of Commander. When they're played in casual pods, they usually garner a collective groan from the table. Cards like Tergrid, God of Fright, Cyclonic Rift, Smothering Tithe, and Rhystic Study. It also features cards that are practically considered CEDH staples. You have fast mana like Ancient Tomb, Mana Vault, and Lion's Eye Diamond, premium tutors like Demonic Tutor, Mystical Tutor, and Survival of the Fittest, and there's a handful of extremely efficient combo and stack pieces like Thassa's Oracle, Drannith Magistrate, and Ad Nauseam. There are 40 cards in total on this list. Now remember, this list is not a banned list, but they can certainly be considered to be a watched list, and if any cards ever get unbanned in the future, they'll likely find themselves on this list to begin with. And if Nardu's Second Coming ever gets printed again, you can rest assured they'll end up on this list before potentially ending up on the banned list. Okay, let's take a quick look at all the brackets overall, as this is important to show what we're trying to achieve and then we'll dive into each one. So there are 5 brackets in total. Bracket 1 is Exhibition, Bracket 2 is Core, Bracket 3 is Upgraded, Bracket 4 is Optimized, and Bracket 5 is CEDH. As you can probably tell, these brackets go from what are objectively low power decks, all the way up to what are considered the highest powered decks. Here's the important part. The first 3 brackets are considered to be the social brackets, whereas the last 2 brackets are the competitive brackets. Again, this comes back to being able to give players the tools to find the games close to what they're looking for. Let's go through each of the brackets and the rules associated with them. Bracket 1, Exhibition. This bracket is meant for the ultimate casual decks. I think it would be fair to say that this could be considered the Vorthos tier. Here you're going to find decks that might only consist of cards that feature the Weatherlight crew, or decks that have strict building requirements like everything must have 2 attack or cost 2 mana. The games here are likely to be slow, but the main focus is having fun and players showing off their unique creations. For decks to be considered Bracket 1, they must contain no cards from the Game Changer list, no intentional 2-card infinite combos, mass land denial, or extra turn spells, and tutors should be far and few between. To clarify what we mean by no intentional 2-card infinites is, if you happen to steal some cards from your opponents via a Gonti or other means, and then assemble a combo there, that's totally allowed. Actively building your deck with 2 specific cards to combo is not allowed. Bracket 2, Core. This is where practically every pre-packaged precon deck sits. They're not perfect by any means, but there's going to be some good synergies that can set you up for some big turns. The deck is not completely optimized because you've no doubt kept in your pet cards that you want to add to every deck. Mine is Elixir of Immortality. I think the perfect example of this is the Stellar Lee Precon from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's a clunky spellslinger deck, but with the right pilot, a bit of planning, and a pinch of luck, it can do its thing and have an explosive turn or 2. Decks in this bracket are unlikely to win the game out of nowhere, but will likely have a clear winner by turn 10 or so. For decks to be considered Bracket 2, they must contain no cards from the Game Changer list, no intentional 2-card infinite combos or mass land denial, extra turn spells should only appear in low quantities and not intended to be chained in succession or looped, and, as with Bracket 1, tutors should be sparse. Bracket 3, Upgraded. This is where you'll find decks that are starting to become a bit more competitive. As the name suggests, you'll find a lot of upgraded precons here. It's also the first tier that allows you to play cards from the Game Changer list. Upgraded bracket decks are allowed to run up to 3 cards from the Game Changer list, and with these upgrades, you'll likely find that games go a bit quicker and could potentially end the game out of nowhere. 2-card infinite combos are allowed here, but not early game 2-card combos. No Thassa's Oracle into Demonic Consultation will be found here. As with the previous bracket, extra turn spells are also allowed as long as they're not chained together or looped. And this is the last bracket where mass land destruction is banned. On to bracket 4, Optimized. Here is the first of the 2 competitive brackets. Expect decks in this bracket to focus mostly on winning. But that's not to say someone's Slime Against Humanity deck won't become a force to be reckoned with. Powerful versions of players' favourite commanders are to be found here, as opposed to tournament and meta decks, which can be found in the final bracket. Combos, extra turn spells, and mass land destruction are all welcome here in the optimized bracket. The only restriction is the banned list. And finally, we have bracket 5, the CEDH bracket. There's not much to say about this bracket, as anyone who knows what CEDH is knows what to expect from this bracket. This is the highest power of Commander games you'll ever see. Winning is a top priority for most players, and it's entirely possible that some games might be over on the first or second turn. Again, the only restriction here is the banned list. Let's quickly recap. Brackets 1 through 3 are designed for more social and fun games, whereas brackets 4 and 5 are designed with a more competitive focus. Brackets 3, 4 and 5 is where game changer cards are allowed, with bracket 3 having the restriction of only 3 game changer cards allowed. Speaking of the game changers list, on the list we have Draneth Magistrate, Enlightened Tutor, Sarah's Sanctum, Smothering Tithe, Trouble in Pairs, Cyclonic Rift, Expropriate, Force of Will, Fierce Guardianship, Rhystic Study, Thassa's Oracle, Urza, Lord Hyde Artificer, Mystical Tutor, Jinkatax's Core Augur, Bolus's Citadel, Demonic Tutor, Imperial Seal, Opposition Agent, Turgid God of Fright, Vampiric Tutor, Ad Nauseam, Jeskai's Will, Underworld Breach, Gaia's Cradle, Survival of the Fittest, Vorinclix, Voice of Hunger, The One Ring, Trinisphere, Chrome Mox, Grim Monolith, Lion's Eye Diamond, Mox Diamond, Manival, Ancient Tomb, Glacial Chasm, The Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, Kinnan, Bonder's Prodigy, Yuriko, Tiger Shadow, Winota, Joiner of Forces, and Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. Now keep in mind, this list is not set in stone. If you believe a card should be on this list, be sure to let us know via any of the feedback channels. If you want to see the reasons for why each card is on the Game Changers list, be sure to read Gavin's article, which I've linked below. Now don't forget, if your commander happens to be on the Game Changers list, that does count towards your Game Changer count in brackets 3. Having said that, Rule 0 can still come into play here if your Urza commander is pivotal to your Brothers War deck. So that's all the brackets and the Game Changers. What now? Ideally, you'll start playing and building decks with the bracket system and let us know what you think. Moxfield and EDH Rec should all have tools in place by the time this video goes live to help you build within certain brackets. I'll also be looking to upload some deck techs with the brackets in mind, so stay tuned for them. You can even check out the decks I've made already with brackets on my Moxfield account. Now, as far as for the next update, we're looking to roll out the full system and some potential unbans in April. So let me know what you think of this system down below, along with any questions you might have. If you learned something this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe, because if you don't, Sam Reich will be waiting for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.